Now we'll just fill for a minute for the YouTube for the recording to actually catch up. On the last one, I'm pretty sure there was a noticeable difference from the time I hit record to the time it started recording. For some reason, that happens sometimes, but not all the time, and not terribly frequently, but sometimes. Which is why there's always, for you people that watch this on YouTube, there's always this beginning part that's anywhere from like a minute to three, because I'm terrified I'm going to hit record and start the show and like a minute of it's just going to be missing. And I'm going to have to go download the entire stream just to get that one bit at the beginning, because I've had to do that before and that sucks. In case anyone's watching the YouTube version going, how come they don't start the show when they start the show? It's always this crap before. That's why. Yeah.
It's why we take the most dramatic way possible of eating potato chips. We have to eat
It's
time.
true.
Yeah. But all right, that's a minute and a half. That's probably good. Are the beginning bits the aperitif? I don't know what that word means. Do y'all know what that word means? I don't know what that word means.
Nope.
I feel like I'm supposed to remember what that word means. No, I looked it up. I did not know what that word means.
Oh, aperitif. An alcoholic drink taken before a meal to stimulate the appetite. Oh. We'll go with that, sure. But okay, here we go. Oh, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 676 of the Mana Pool. We're all palindromic again this week. I am Chewy, the lead dork. We are down one dork, but we've gained another one. Yeah, so regular dorks, who are you?
I'm Brian, I'm the lead Rambler Tangent Master of the group, and I'm as irregular as they come. I think.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest let man alive and moral compass of the group. And I'm as nerdy as they come, I guess.
All right, then. So, as you can tell by the lack of Mike there, we are missing Mike this week, and next week, and possibly the week after that. Maybe. But that's okay, because this week we grabbed another old favorite to rejoin us. It's Squee!
Hi, I'm the mic you get on Wish.
Ooh.
See the mic we have at home?
Pretty much. You cut to home, and your first clue that I'm not actually Mike is that I do not have a majestic beard.
You don't have any kind of beard either, do you?
No, not at all. It's not my thing.
He has a majestic not beard.
I do what I can.
But yes, okay, not the first time since Monday Night Magic stopped, but for the only a fewth time since Monday Night Magic stopped.
It's been a while.
We did do a couple of like just chatting episodes after that.
Yeah.
But now they Clues and Squee all have, lives and have replaced any time that they spent on the internet with me, so that's sad.
Look, we are the only ones keeping Google Chat going, okay?
It's true. I don't use Google
it.
Chat for anything other than talking to you two.
Pretty much.
Jay Spencer says, I refuse to believe that Squee has a life. Squee has way much life. Like, it's kind of scary how much of a life Squee has.
It keeps me busy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Although I will admit, like, just before anything comes up, I have not played Magic in a very long time. So, in the event that Wizards does anything at all, I can comment on Dungeons and Dragons. I can comment on crazy nonsense that they're doing outside of Magic.
Yeah.
But I don't even know the current terms. I looked at some of the previews that you guys were doing, and I'm like, I don't know what that card does.
Battles are pretty neat, actually, but
Yeah.
Somebody at
that's
at the
about it.
pre-list I went to called them bad sagas, and I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, even if you're wrong, but you know,
they don't remotely
it
work like sagas.
no.
Hmm.
I think because you get the initial effect and then you get an effect later, but
Or
he was
80%
not happy.
mechanics still kicker.
I mean,
Roughly.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But he wasn't happy with how they were working with him, so wah.
wah. So, this week, oh god. So, yeah, what we're talking about this week is yet another Wizards of the Coast PR disaster, fiasco, debacle. These are all words that apply.
These are all words that apply.
So,
It's like a PR crisis.
Of their own making, but go ahead,
Yeah.
Jay.
Yes.
So let's spell this out. On April 20th, blaze it. The YouTube channel Old School MTG, which is a guy named Dan. Dan made videos cracking packs of collector boxes, actually, of March of the Machine Aftermath.
Not March of the Machine, March of the Machine Aftermath, the set that has not yet been released.
Or revealed. Like,
Right.
I think there had been 2 cards, I think, officially shown of the 50. It's a mini set. They're doing that thing that Hearthstone started doing a few years ago. And after the big set comes out, they're releasing a mini set. I have no idea how that works in Standard. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But it's a 50 card set that is well, the aftermath, of March of the Machine. Okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So that was on April 20th. On the 21st and 22nd, he released, I think, one more each day. I'm pretty sure. Now, those videos have since been taken down. I'm going to try to go through this chronologically. I asked a Pooligan, I asked the Discord, and a Pooligan who watched at least the first video said that he was aware the set wasn't out yet. He was clearly unsure about how much had been previewed, and he didn't know it was a 50-card set, and was confused at how many packs had duplicates. Because, again, it's only a 50-card set, and the collector boosters are, I want to say, like 7 cards or something.
Oh.
Heard they were small, yeah.
Yeah, it's something weird. So, I did manage... Now, like I said, those videos have since been taken down, but I did manage to find someone that made a reaction video where they basically just play his video and then pause it and talk over it. And I got to hear what he had to say about how he got these in the initial video. And I transcribed it exactly. He said, I don't even know how I got this, but my buddy called me up like a week ago and said, I've got 22 collector boxes real cheap from March of the Machine. Do you want them? And I was like, yeah, I definitely do, because I was on my honeymoon. So I was like, I'll pick them up when I get back. And that's all I got from that first video. Because after that, the dude was like, let's just look at the cards. The dude doing the reaction video.
Right.
Let's see. Hang on. He did say... Oh, wait, no. Someone tweeted more information at me. Hang on. Okay, he made multiple mentions of, I don't think this set has even been spoiled yet, while opening the packs. So there's that. And he did say in a later video after this whole thing that we haven't told you about yet happened, he said, hang on, I lost my notes, that it was fun to open packs and have no idea what was in them. like it was in the old days. And he knows that he, quote, spoiled that for everybody else. But he then reiterated that it was nice to not know what was in the pack. So he was aware that the set wasn't out yet, and he was aware that the set hadn't even been previewed yet, apparently. Or at least he hadn't seen the previews if he hadn't. So, that was the 20th and 21st, and possibly the 22nd. I don't think so, though, because on the 22nd, there was a knock at his door. Now, this has been put together from various sections, or various articles, his video, articles written about it, and additional contact he had with the author of one of the articles. Okay? There was a knock at the door on Saturday morning, which is the 22nd. No.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hang on, I scrolled up.
Yeah,
22nd was Saturday. Okay. His wife answered the door, and it was agents, plural, from the Pinkerton agency, who aggressively asked for him by his full name. She told them to wait outside and went to shut the door, and apparently, allegedly, I guess I should say, they would not let her shut the door all the way. Which, she went to get Dan, who came out and he says that he assertively moved them all outside and was like, y'all need to treat us with, more respect than you're treating us. Because apparently they were being dicks. They brought up potential jail. They were asking for the return of the stolen property. They were and dropping hang on, how do I put this? I'm just gonna say it. They were dropping threats of jail time and giant fines up to like $200,000, and using words like copyright infringement or something to that effect. They gave him the number of a contact at Wizards of the Coast. He called, got in touch with the person. The Pinkertons came in and took all of the cards from Aftermath, including all of the boxes
sleeves.
and the wrappers and everything, and even counted the cards like in front of him to make sure that they got it all. And he said the person at Wizards, that he didn't name, but the person at Wizards was very nice and whatnot, and apologized for the Pinkertons making his wife cry. Because apparently the Pinkertons made his wife cry because they were being such dicks. By the way, it's entirely possible that on this episode there will be swearing, which we don't normally do on the Mana Pool, but Bill's out of practice, and I might not be able to hold back.
I'm going to try really hard not to. We'll see.
Yeah. But
It's not an easy subject matter to talk about.
It really isn't. So that's the long and short of it. They took everything. The guy from Wizards was like, "We will get you replacement stuff," because he bought these fair and square. Mm-hmm. In his words, a buddy
that comes back.
Do what?
Like, the fact that he bought these is going to be a point to discuss later.
Oh, yeah. Like he said, a buddy of his was like, "Hey, I've got March of the Machine collector boosters. You want them?" And he was like, "Yeah." But when he gave the guy the money, took the box, got home, opened the box, and saw that it was March of the Machine Aftermath. And I'm not sure what his thought process was, but he then decided to open them on, because what his channel does is crack packs. Like, he opens things and I guess reviews them or something. I don't know. I don't watch Magic YouTube. So, excuse me. The idea of watching someone else cracks packs just floors me. But it's some of the most popular stuff on YouTube, so I don't understand. But whatever. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that lots of people like it. But like I said, he knew that the set wasn't out yet. He seemed to be pretty sure that it wasn't previewed yet, but he decided to just dump it on YouTube anyway. Now, when I first heard all of this, I was like, "Oh, he decided to make some money off of YouTube, for clout. Nice. What a typical YouTuber." But after having watched the 2 videos he's made about this, he doesn't strike me as that type of person that would, "Hey, I got stuff I'm not supposed to have. Check it out. Woo!" I didn't get that vibe from him at all. So,
whether or not it was a wise idea,
yeah,
is a separate question. But
so
punishment fitting the crime, not so much.
Yeah, so I can't speak to his mindset or why he decided to go to YouTube with it rather than like, I don't think I'm supposed to have this. Whatever. That's literally beside the point. But a lot of people seem to think that is the point. But it's not. Just saying. We'll get to that.
It's really not. Yeah.
So, yeah, he was also told to take the videos down. And they asked him to tell anyone who had used his footage for their own videos, like the reaction video thing. He was like, you might want to take that down too. A bunch of them haven't, obviously, because I was able to find multiples while searching around on YouTube. So that's what happened. Like that's it. It's not a whole lot. But the actual events aren't really the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be thinking, the Pinkertons, why does that sound familiar? Well, maybe you played BioShock Infinite, where the playable character, Booker DeWitt, worked for the Pinkertons. And just because he was the player character does not mean he was a good person.
That's a big part of the game.
Yeah. Or maybe you played Red Dead Redemption 2, where the Pinkertons are like I think they're the main antagonist for, oh no, it fell off. The Vanderlind gang or something like that. The group of outlaws that you are part of in Red Dead Redemption 2. I can't remember, but the Pinkertons might have been in Red Dead Redemption 1, but that's so long ago now that the internet has memory hold it. Myself included. I know that there was some sort of lawman, but I don't know if he was a Pinkerton or not, who was a major villain. Apparently there was an Assassin's Creed comic where the main character was a Pinkerton. That's weird. Maybe you're a fan of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Do you like that movie? I love that movie. You remember that there are the guys who are after them basically the entire movie, and they keep going, who are those guys? Yeah, that's LaForce's stupid hat, and a bunch of bounty hunters, and they were hired by the Pinkertons. Or, you might be familiar with, those are all, from fiction. But, wait, the Pinkertons were real. They were also tasked back in the days of the Old West. They were tasked with protecting the railroads from people like Butch Cassidy. But they also were later, after that, they were involved with breaking up attempts to unionize violently in several cases. And let's see here. Having firefights with striking workers.
Yup.
And lots of stuff like that. They are the bad guys. And if you think, well, sure, that was a long time ago. It was.
Guns.
They are hired guns. But if you're thinking, Chewie, that was a long time ago. It was. But how about Amazon hired them in God, which one was Amazon? Was that 2020? I think that might have been 2020. Sometime within the last like 4 or 5 years to spy on their European workers who were attempting to unionize. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Starbucks hired them too. Is that right? I think that's right. To do something
I'd heard
similar.
that one.
Yes, that did happen.
Yeah.
They spied on Starbucks when they. Well, we say. My understanding of it is it wasn't specifically them. It was someone who previously worked there was pulled in. I don't think it was the
Oh.
industry itself, but someone who had a history in it. Look it up, people. Like, there's stuff out there. There's no shortage of articles about this. These are actually like this organization is historically relevant. It was probably mentioned in a textbook if you were paying attention in history. Like, it's real. It's been around for nearly 200 years. It's a big part of American history and modern messes, including this one.
Yeah. In the show notes, I will have two articles linked. One, weirdly enough, is from teenvogue.com,
Sure,
which is
they do
written
news.
in 2020. That is titled "The Pinkertons Have a Long, Dark History of Targeting Workers." And also from historians.org, an article entitled "Who Are Those Guys?" S. Paul O'Hara's Inventing the Pinkertons. And Inventing the Pinkertons is the name of the book. It's called Inventing the Pinkertons, or Spies, Sleuths, Mercenaries, and Thugs. And it is that was written in 2016. Well, this article was written in 2016, but there's still looks at the Pinkerton organization through history. So those two will be in the show notes. So or in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, by all means read those and be like, oh.
I didn't play the Red Dead Redemption games, but when I hear Pinkerton, you know what comes to mind is like the 1920s, 1930s cops trying to break up prohibition. That's what it kind of like comes to mind. Lots and lots of bowler hats is what comes to mind when I hear Pinkerton.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, due to their essentially being hired thug behavior during the union busting, the name became pretty synonymous with people using violence and intimidation. Because as Chewy mentioned in a lot of those cases before, like, these are not authorities. These are people that are hired to do a thing.
Yeah.
I'm just as an attorney, I'm like, if they came to my door, I don't think I have to answer for them. They can threaten all they want. That I can probably call the cops on them.
Yeah.
They're not a legal authority.
They're not.
And so, like, knocking on the door and someone opens the door is one thing. Preventing them from closing the door is another thing.
Yeah.
This entire story is full of potential lawsuit fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Things from chat. A protest in Denver led to a Pinkerton subcontractor shooting a protester to death. Police charges against the Pinkerton agent were dropped. Oh, that was in 2020. Jay Spencer said the Anti-Pinkerton Act of 1893. The act states that an individual employed by the Pinkerton Detective Agency or similar organization may not be employed by the government of the United States or the government of the District of Columbia. Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know it's bad when they name the act after your company.
Yeah, like that's awful. Like, Dirk, you're our resident history buff. Do you have anything to add about these just wonderful people?
I was looking up, and yeah, the Homestead Strike of 1892. They were trying to break a strike, over Andrew Carnegie's, uh, like they were trying to break up a strike that was going on there, and it resulted in a whole bunch of people being killed. And one that I saw recently was the Battle of Blair Mountain. I believe also involved the Pinkertons as
Yup.
well. And that was also a strike that they were sent in to break up,
The
if I
Battle of
remember correctly.
Bear Mountain. That
Blair Mountain.
Blair. Yeah.
Blair. Oh, Blair, not Bear. Blair, like the witch. Okay.
So yeah, they were known for being union busters. Back in the time when before unions, during the Gilded Age, when people were starting to move in that direction in the labor movement, but you had all the big businesses that didn't want that to happen, and so on and so forth. So they were employed by the big companies, by again like J.P. Morgan and Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, there was a 12-hour gun battle in the Homestead strike.
Hmm?
Like the 3,800 employees were fired because they didn't want to allow them to unionize. So they fired them all, brought in 300 Pinkertons to occupy the property. And yeah, there was a 12-hour gunfight, and at least 7 workers were killed. Because,
Damn.
of course they were. Let's see, here's another one, the 1914 Ludlow Massacre.
That's a key word you don't want to be associated with your organization multiple times.
Massacre.
Or
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, I have yet, and
So-
I'm keeping that.
Yeah, they're not the good guys. And these days they're a company that's owned by like a Swedish company, Securitas or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
they still use the name Pinkerton despite what the connotations that come with it. And I'm fairly certain you would only use those connotations, use a name with those connotations on purpose.
Yeah, that's very deliberate.
That's-
If you're taking that baggage, you're also exploiting.
That's like if a
Branding is
new humanitarian group decided to name itself the Ku Klux Klan. You'd be like, nah.
Like, specifically, when your organization develops a reputation, like that does become your brand, and you have to decide, is this the brand that best serves us and best represents us? Because companies change names.
Yeah.
Lots of them change names.
Especially
Like-
when controversy happens, like Facebook and Meta, and Twitter is now owned by X.
Twitter is now owned by X.
Yeah, that's the name of the company. It's X, like SpaceX. Yeah,
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
shuttle that blew up. Yeah.
yeah. Had a rapid, unscheduled. What was it? Disassembly. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were grounded,
Yeah.
by the way, because a lot of particulate matter from that explosion rained down on the surrounding residential zones for miles in that direction. So,
It's almost like someone really wanted their rocket to fly off on 420.
yeah. Anyway,
Chewie texted us and just used that phrase. And I thought you were referring to like going to the bathroom or something. That's why I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you were."
did Brian get really quiet for you guys?
Yeah, he's
Yes.
further away.
No, I'm still here.
You sound further
Right.
away.
I'm wearing a headset.
The microphone.
Did you put that on in the
that
last few
microphone's not
minutes?
picking up.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think a different microphone is being picked up. Tap the mic on your headset. Yeah, no.
No.
Okay. All right.
So you might want to fix that because that just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Let's
yeah,
keep
so
going.
like it's a brand thing. Like if you look at the history of that organization, especially if another place bought it, which did, and you decide to continue using that name, it's because you've decided that that name serves your purpose. And
Exactly.
they're not associated with a lot other than the things we've just mentioned, even on their own wiki page. So it's a choice.
Yeah.
Right. So correction. Baldwin Felts Detective Agency is the one who was responsible for the Battle of Blair Mountain.
Ah, okay.
But again, a private detective agency. So apparently Pinkerton was not the only one going around doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think they were the first and the biggest,
Yeah.
but others did spin off.
But like you said, they have been involved in a bunch of stuff that we would not want to. Nowadays, we would probably not want to be associated with.
Exactly.
How do I sound now?
Now
There
you
you
sound
go.
normal again.
Back.
Okay.
So, given all of that setup, this guy got collector boxes from an unreleased set, made some YouTube videos, and according to a statement issued by Wizards of the Coast to one of these article authors, I think it was Polygon was where they sent it, but I've closed that one because that article, while it might have been the first one, was the least useful. Watsy said they sent an investigator after several phone calls went unanswered. So, like, it seems like, as someone said in the Discord, it seems like that their steps were call him, no answer. Call him, no answer. Send the Pinkertons. What? According to Dan, there were no emails. Now, he's a YouTube channel, which means there are ways to contact him. Like, hang on, I'll go look right now. About. Oh. There is no contact information listed. Huh, how about that?
One wonders if there was contact information prior to this happening. I'm just wondering.
Probably not. Because the rest of this guy's channel, like, he's not like a pro YouTuber. Like, he's very small. At the time, he had less than 4,000 subscribers. Like, he's a hobbyist. This is not his like main gig.
Right. I'm sure this has gotten a lot of attention for him. Although,
yeah,
you know,
I'm sure that'll all drop back to normal once all of this fades away.
Yeah, even his follow-up video where he talked about the stuff is a very low count for all the talking about it.
Well, I mean, the first one has 98,000 views. Second one has 44,000. Given that the rest of the videos I'm looking at here have between 1 and 4,000, or some of these are down in the hundreds. Like, yeah. I think this was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But like I said, I did not get the vibe that he was doing this for attention specifically.
Right.
But like, going back to Wizards, even if he was like, ha 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 ha, somebody screwed up and I have these and I'm going to use them to make money. You don't call a couple times, not get an answer, and then send an agency that is historically known for hating working people, killing working people, and being armed thugs. Like, that's bad.
Yeah. it's also one of those scenarios where, like, I obviously don't know, but I'm operating on the assumption that they are not cheap. So if you're having somebody drop by to knock on the door and have a conversation, they probably spent a lot of money on it.
Oh yeah.
And this is not a we picked one off the list and sent them over. This was a decision.
Yeah, because it would just been easier just to send a lawyer and say, "Hey, this is a file that says you need to stop doing cease and desist." Correct, Brian?
Yeah.
I would highly advise that. Yes.
As opposed to, sending leg breakers to intimidate him. They made his wife cry. They apparently stuck their foot in the door so she couldn't shut the door all the way. They intimidated him with threats of massive fines and jail time. Now, Wizards, let's see here. Wizards strongly refutes this depiction of events, which contradicts both the report from the investigation as well as the conversation between the individual and the WotC representative after the interaction in question. And says that under no circumstances would we instruct any employee or contracted agency to intimidate an individual. Okay, I fully agree that they didn't send somebody and said, lean on this guy. And I'm almost certain they did not expressly say that, but they hired the Pinkertons. That's what they do. So, and of course,
I'm not going to hire Jet Li to kill a mosquito or talk to a mosquito in my room. I'm hiring Jet Li to kill the mosquito in my room because I don't like mosquitoes. But you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is not the fuzzy puppy agency.
And I'm also fairly certain that the report from the investigation isn't going to say, yeah, we threatened the dude until he caved. Yeah, we did crimes. They're not going to put that in the report. So, of course, that's not what the report says.
Yeah, please contact your legal department. We may have messed up. Oops.
We might have several crimes and misrepresented things.
Yeah, they're not Ron DeSantis.
Description.
They're not Ron DeSantis. They're not going to put it in their memoirs that, yes, I was trying to silence free speech. Did you hear about that? Oh my God, what an idiot. But, so, what WotC is saying is almost certainly true, that the report didn't say that, and they didn't expressly give instructions to intimidate somebody. Yeah, that's not how intimidation works.
Hey, we're going to send someone over to intimidate you. Are you going to be home between 9 and 9:30? I mean, we can come back after lunch, What time works best for you for threatening your family?
Yeah, exactly. I'm also trying to figure out where they got this guy's... How they got this guy's, name and address.
I mean, we could say things that are pure speculation. I don't know if that's responsible.
As long as we preface that this is pure speculation.
Yeah, pure speculation. This guy's old school MTG and talks about old MTG stuff. They might have his address just from the fact that he was probably involved in, attending events or having, a DCI number back when that was relevant, back when they mailed out cards.
That's what I'm wondering about, yeah.
I'm not saying that because I don't know, but would not be shocked if they had access to this person's content, because you can't just pull someone's address from YouTube.
Yeah.
They had to get it somewhere, and they got it on short notice.
And the Pinkertons are a detective agency, at least loosely. So.
Oh, Jay Spencer said that's easy. He puts his P.O. box in his video, and that's rented by an LLC, and he's named in the LLC documentation.
That is a much better answer. That is way
okay.
better.
Yeah, that is a good point. Thank you.
Where he did that.
He doesn't list his email address, but he gives out without realizing it, he's making his. Wow, that's
Okay.
Hmm.
That was admittedly something I did not know. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I feel way better about that than the things that I was
Yeah,
insinuating.
that's way less
It's
shady.
way better. Yeah.
But like,
still problematic. People share way too much information these days.
yeah, like I've seen a lot of victim blaming on this that are like, well, you know, he knew what he was doing from the get go, and why did he decide to make YouTube videos about this instead of contacting somebody to get it all figured out? And like, okay, I don't like leaks either because it affects more than just, you know, the people at Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast that we hate. Like it causes problems for the ones we like too. So I don't like leaks myself, and this whole thing struck me as a, you know, screw you got mine situation when I first heard about it, where he was putting, all right, like I didn't know anything about this guy. He was in my brain, he's a YouTuber, and he's putting making getting views on YouTube above all things. But again, that's not the vibe I got after watching some of his stuff. Like, he's not one of those YouTubers as far as I can tell. I mean, I know some of you
can tell
are
completely,
probably
but,
viewers,
yeah.
so you might be able to back me up on this, but like, it doesn't matter if that was his whole thing. Like, it doesn't matter. They sent the Pinkertons to lean on him. Like,
That's the point.
Yeah.
like, and the amount of people that are like all in on, oh, Watsy was right, it just floors me. Like, I got a response that said this guy left out some pretty pertinent information for sympathy points. They sent the squad after I repeatedly left them on red isn't as sympathetic. And since he got word out first, he's going to have the narrative advantage. Guy knew what he was doing from day one. How many of you answer the phone from a number you don't know? Because I don't.
I don't.
Ever.
Straight up. For business, like, people are like, I called like 5 times. I'm like, oh, did you leave a voicemail? Well, no, I didn't leave. Well, then it doesn't count. If I
Yeah,
don't get a
that just
voicemail, it
that
doesn't
means
count.
you were a spam call. Like, if you didn't leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
There you go.
And apparently they didn't leave a voicemail, because he said they didn't email, they didn't leave a voicemail. Apparently they just called, and nobody answers calls from numbers they don't know anymore, because answering
Especially.
numbers you don't know anymore, it's all just crap. It's spam. It's nonsense. So, and we've
Yeah.
all been trained. Do I know this number? Don't answer it. I got one like 20 minutes before we started this call. As a matter of fact, my phone rang. I looked at it. I'm like, I don't know who that is, and I just hit end. Like, this is 2023. You can't just call and be like, oh, he didn't answer, better send the thugs. Like, that's not how it works. But when I pointed out that it didn't matter if this guy is an idiot. And I'm not saying he is, but if he is, it doesn't matter if he's an idiot, because they sent the Pinkertons, and this same person
Their
responded,
response.
unreasonable retaliation doesn't absolve someone of acting in bad faith. The guy acted clueless when he knew exactly what he was doing from the minute he acquired those boxes. And so I responded, someone acting in bad faith doesn't absolve unreasonable retaliation.
Thank you.
Like, it works both
100%
ways.
agree.
You notice, I didn't say that he should be absolved of all wrongdoing. Have I said that? I have not said that. But this was the worst decision, short of, like, sending in the LAPD to do a no-knock warrant and shooting him in his own bed. This was a close second worst possible thing. Like, why didn't they send, like Brian said, or Dirk said, a lawyer to be like, hey, You should probably not do this. Or a cop. You know why? Because no laws were broken on his end,
This,
as far as we can
yeah,
tell.
this was a private dispute between individuals. So they sent a private agency. That private agency happens to be one that, does this sort of stuff.
And like I can't I can't even, y'all. Now, it has been pointed out, here we go, that there are apparently Wizards of the Coast. Okay, this is a little, what's the word? Specious at best. There's an article on Gizmodo. Apparently, IO9 is part of Gizmodo now. I didn't know that. But all the IO9 branding is gone. But the person writing the article, Linda Codega, keeps saying such and such spoke to IO9. And I'm like, did you copy this art? No, it's Gizmodo. So that confused me. So it might confuse you too. But this article, which will also be down in the description or show notes or however you want to call it, said, hang on. I scrolled up to look at the article or the author. Another source told IO9 that after... You guys remember the uncut sheet of Ixalan? Or the uncut sheets of Ixalan that were stolen from the printer?
Something about that, yeah.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was, 6-7 years ago now, something like that?
Yeah.
The fact that I remember it is how you know it's a while ago.
Exactly, yeah. But, a source told IO9 that after the sheets were stolen, someone attempted to sell it at the game store where they were working. The store recognized it as stolen property and called WotC to report it. And the source alleged that a Pinkerton detective came to the store and began conducting interviews. During these interviews, the agent said that Wizards of the Coast had a lot of these, quote, sorts of problems, end quote, and that the Pinkertons had been used, quote, multiple times, end quote, to help solve them. Now, that is like hearsay of hearsay as far as I'm concerned. Because that was a long time ago, so... But there are other connections. This article says that Robin M., let's say Klimek, who had been the director of security risk management at Hasbro for 12 years, the director of security risk management at Hasbro for 12 years, was previously the director of supply chain security practice at Pinkerton Consulting and Investigations. And the current manager of global investigations, assuming they're talking about Hasbro, was also a former Pinkerton agent. So I'm wondering if that's why Hasbro or WotC or whoever is using Pinkerton, because they've got people on the inside that came from there. So I'll just use them.
So they've got a little mob boss going on. Make him an offer he can't refuse.
I mean, I wasn't going that far. It's just like, hey, I used to work for them, use them. That sort of thing.
It's probably telling of the kind of mindset that leads to some decisions based on that background. And also that someone with that background would be hired in the first place.
I was about to say, the fact that Hasbro hired someone who used to work for Pinkerton, that's a whole other issue right there. Yeah, chat just said Pinkerton is the mob muscle you hire when you aren't actually the mob. I like that. So, okay, I'm about to draw a connection here. Not just in the structure of the argument, okay? It's just the structure of the argument. I'm not comparing these two things at all. But the people who are saying, well, he knew what he was doing, he got what he deserved, remind me a lot of the people who say, well, George Floyd was doing crimes, so
Yeah, that's yeah,
like it's all victim blaming. Like
yeah.
just say you're on the side of the big evil corporation, and so we'll know, where you stand. Like
I I think it's really important to remember that this isn't a thing that people are talking about because some guy got some early product and posted it to the internet. It's a thing that they're talking about for the response to that and the
exactly.
various levels of blatant illegality going on.
Yes.
Yeah, because leaks happen freaking constantly these days.
If
Like
the Pinkertons had not been sent, no one would be talking about this now. They'd be
no
like, oh,
one would be talking about it. Like
yeah.
it popped up
But
in the Discord. Oh, I just watched a YouTube video of a dude opening Aftermath packs, and I was like, "What a dick!" Like, why would he be doing that? And now I'm fully on his side.
because this is about the response, and that a lot of times you notice a lot of times that the whole, well, if they hadn't been resisting, then nothing bad would have happened, or however you want to put it. That comes because they don't have a really good argument for why things happened the way they did. So, oh, let's just, I don't have a reason for that. That's kind of reprehensible. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna shift the conversation.
Yeah, you have to move the goalposts when it comes to stuff like that.
Move goalpost way, way down.
So, yeah,
I
Wizards has been
I
just slipping so hard in so many different ways lately.
One of the things that's bothering me about what little I've seen of the discourse around this is people being really hung up on this idea that this guy essentially what he did was he got a product early and he revealed what was in it. And I think a lot of people are getting hung up on the like, well, you can't do that. And it's like the thing is, he legally purchased a thing. It was his. Like whether or not it was a dick move to reveal things to the internet, this is someone who bought something, which he, went through a channel of some sort. He bought it. It's his property. And once you buy something, like if you get a video game 3 days early and you spoil the end of it for the internet, you're a dick. But you bought the game, it was purchased. Like street dates and their equivalent in every industry are not like a legal thing.
Yeah.
They're an agreement between a provider of a product and the distributor of the product. This is the person who bought the product from some form of distributor.
That's
He
the
does not owe
only thing.
Wizards anything.
That's the only thing is he says he got it from a guy or somebody like that. That's the only thing, and it does not excuse Wizards' reaction, but it might explain why they were so frantic to get it back. Is like, how did this person he got it from get the product? So Bill's right. If he purchased it legally, all good. But say 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 somebody knocks over the jewelry store and you're walking down the street, and this guy's like, "Hey, Rolex for $10," and you're like, "Sure, that's great. This must be a sale or whatever." And you come home and you're like, "Honey, I bought a Rolex for $10." No, you're actually in North Carolina, that would be possession of stolen goods, which is a class H felony because you knew or really, really should have known that that was stolen. So the only
Right.
thing I can think of, just playing devil's advocate, because
Mm-hmm.
that's my job on a 9 to 5, is okay if the person that he got it from was not supposed to have it for some reason, not alleging theft or whatever. Maybe it was even a misplacement of the product because the the aftermath name having the same first 4 words in its title or whatever. Maybe it was an honest mistake. We don't know. Regardless, they handled it incredibly poorly. And now, as Chewie said, the discussion is not, you know, on whether or not this was the right thing to do for him to do, although that's where some people are reverting to. But the bigger debate is, or the bigger discussion is, wow, this is an absolutely crazy response to this. Someone who could have gotten hurt. Um, this opens them up to liability issues because they contracted with Pinkerton. So, oops.
The one thing is, this was only made the news for what it did. That we also live in a society where, had this individual had been a gun owner and heard what was going on, this also could have really blown up as another defending my house sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
he lives
you're
in
somebody
Florida
that's-
too, so
I'm sorry. You're somebody that is expressly not the cops. You're on my property. My wife has told you to leave, and you're refusing to leave, and you're trying to gain entry to my home.
Yep. So,
It's not a scenario that ends well.
it really isn't. Yeah.
No.
And the thing is, like everything that Brian just said, absolutely true. There may be an avenue for, possession of stolen property, but the thing is, like, if you suspect that someone has stolen property, authorities handle that.
Yes.
Investigations occur. Someone gets a warrant to enter your home and go through your stuff, and you certainly don't show up, take all of someone's stuff and all of the wrappers and all of the everything that they've so far purchased as a non-official entity, and then have like a conversation on the phone with the people who produced it and be told, oh yeah, we'll get you replacements later, because now you're probably going to have to sign a piece of paper saying that you're okay with this, and that's all extra legal.
Yeah.
And yet, he
Yeah,
made
now-
less of a fuss over turning over this property than Trump did the documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Now,
I had to
like,
go there.
notice I didn't say that they busted into his house and took everything. Like, he had to have let them in
Right.
and willingly given up the goods. Like, I've seen a bunch of comments that are like, oh, just let people break into my house and take stuff I bought. That is not what happened. Let's be very clear.
Right.
Just because I'm not saying any of you were thinking that, but that's a reaction I've seen to a
Right.
bunch of this. But, like, I don't know the timeline of they gave him a number and he called and talked to the person at WotC and then let the Pinkertons in, or if they just bullied him until he was like, all right, I guess you can have the stuff then, and then they gave him the number. Like, I don't know which of those occurred. And honestly, it really doesn't matter which way it happened in the long
I think
run.
it's one of those scenarios where, from what he described, it sounds like he was given incorrect information about the legality of his situation, and then he made decisions based on that information.
That is the vibe I was getting as well, yeah. Now, he said his buddy that was like, hey, I've got, these March of the Machine collector boxes, you want them? He said that guy's not a magic person. Apparently, I don't know if this is the same friend, but he does apparently have a friend who owns a card shop. And that's where he gets a bunch of his stuff. I don't know if it's the same guy that he's talking about or what. I don't know. I'm just telling you things that I've found out while digging into this. But he said, Dan himself said, that this guy's not a magic person. He's more of like a Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh person. So my guess is that he saw March of the Machine and was like, oh, it's the new Magic set. And didn't even notice that it was March of the Machine Aftermath. Because why would they release two things named so similarly, so close to each other? And his thought was also that whoever sent his friend this stuff just sent the wrong stuff because it's the wrong name. It's because it's similarly named. So his thought was that it's all just a big mix up somewhere that ended up coming down on him because he's the one who ended up with the stuff and put it on YouTube.
And like I believe that. I know that in the past I've seen products hit
Excuse me.
like the Target shelves early. Back when,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this is still a case, but early on in Commander sets, when Commander sets would come out and they all just had like the big word like Commander on them, and then there'd be a year number or something. Like those would arrive in Target like 3 or 4 days before they're supposed to go on sale. And presumably, if someone had previously, like, bought out the inventory and someone was restocking the shelf or whatever, they'd put the new stuff out because they're not looking that close at what they're doing. And they all say Commander, and the little code says Commander. Now, it might ring up on the register as this shouldn't be sold yet or not, depending on how they're handling their inventory, but things get out early in every industry. And it usually isn't someone trying to game a system, it's the nature of Magic the Gathering produces what, like 600 secret layers a year?
Roughly.
Like, they produce a ton of content, and they all say Magic the Gathering, and they reuse a lot of words. And if you're someone who isn't playing and following it very closely, you'll absolutely put the wrong thing up. It happens.
Yeah. But this whole thing is just like I said, it's a PR disaster.
Yeah.
Like this is bad for Wizards, and Wizards has already had plenty of bad things happening this year. Like I don't,
They've not been batting 1,000.
No.
yeah, they're not
They didn't
quite as
need-
bad as the Oakland A's are this year. Shout out to the Oakland fans out there. You have my sympathy. My mom is one. That's why I know that I think they've won 3 games this year. Like it's bad.
Yeah, but how many of them did they send the Pinkertons after the other team?
I'm wondering if someone didn't send the Pinkertons after the A's to lean on them to make them play badly. Because good lord, dude. While I was visiting the parents, I saw a football score on the screen. It was like 12-2 or 3 or something. I was like, damn. It was the 4th inning.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't even know if a baseball team can be that bad without someone leaning on them.
I think you have to have a few Michael Jordans to make that happen.
But yeah, I don't remember if we talked about it at all on the show, but I'm glad Bill is here for multiple reasons, mainly because I miss him, but also because Bill's more of a D&D guy these days. And I wanted him to tell us about the OGL debacle
Debacle.
that happened earlier in the
That's
year.
such a fun word. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing. Yeah, so I'll give the super high level version of it. There's no shortage of people on the internet who know more about this stuff that have spent way more time on it. So, very brief history lesson. Way back in the dawn of 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast put out the open game license, which essentially allowed other companies to produce games that were compatible with the rules set of D&D, like the whole levels, classes, HP D20 stuff. So you could build your own, books that were additional content for D&D, and they'd be compatible with D&D. Now you couldn't go through and add like copyrighted characters or setting information or things that they own trademarks on, but you could produce additional content. And the idea behind this was to, at least according to the person who proposed it, on a very old Wizards hosted article on their own website, the idea was to essentially push the game industry into consolidating their gameplay systems, because in the 90s a lot of games were doing a variety of different systems, and it made it very hard barrier to entry for people, and it also entrenched people and made it harder for them to jump from one game to another. So they decided if everyone's running essentially D&D but their own flavor of it, then over time the superiority of the D&D product meant that people would jump ship over to D&D and buy the core book, and then they'd start making their money off of that, like the player handbooks and things like that. And that was the idea. So they put that out there. They allowed third parties to build their own content, and this went for a little while. And then it was very successful, at least in the short term, because yeah, Dungeons and Dragons third edition and 3.5 were really successful, and a lot of third party publishers came about who started making a lot of content for it. And when Wizards moved on to do fourth edition D&D, they changed it up, and they decided they weren't going to follow that policy this time around. So they made a new thing. There was a lot of, people being upset about it because it cut out third parties unless they were willing to agree to very, at least at the time, considered incredibly unfavorable terms. This is more history stuff that I don't know the details of, but it was not popular. They largely cut out third parties, and so third parties are like, oh, well, since we have permission to use the old system, we'll just keep using that. So that's where Pathfinder came from. Like Paizo, who used to work on Wizard stuff, released their own game system that was pretty much D&D 3.75, which is what a lot of people called it, and they continued developing there. Fourth edition kind of flopped, big picture. I don't need to go into why all that was, but essentially it didn't have a lot of third-party support. People didn't like the system as much. It was a lot. So when Dungeons and Dragons got to 5th edition, they're like, okay, we learned our lesson. We're gonna, with very minor tweaking, bring back that whole open game license thing, and for 5th edition, people can make their own third-party content again. And so that's what happened. Also, by the time 5th edition came around, aside from just playing D&D at home with your friends, suddenly you had things like Critical Role popping up, where there's just an entire online media empire of people getting into D&D, streaming it. They were allowed to do all that. You did not need Wizards' permission to use certain content. You could also go on something like Drive-Thru RPG and produce your own books, your own subclasses, your own whatever, and you did not have to pay Wizards for that. This was all covered by the Open Gaming License. And then at the end of last year, Wizards announced, okay, well, instead of doing 5th edition, we're going to do 1 D&D, which is our next thing, which is going to be kind of like taking the stuff from 5th edition that was working really well, and we're going to change up some mechanics, we're going to rebalance some things, and this will be what we do going forward. And we're not going to use the open game license as it is now. We're going to release a new version of it. Only the new version of the open game license was very different from the old one and kind of a misleading label on it. They changed up the rules significantly to the point where the initial version of it that came out, it leaked early before they sent it to people, and it was very anti-competitive. There was a lot to it. I'm not going to go into the details because they didn't stick with it, but it was very poorly received, and everyone got really upset because it directly endangered people's careers if they built a career out of producing content that was compatible with D&D. It forced people who released things to give, like, essentially permission to Wizards to reprint the stuff that they made and sell it themselves. And a bunch of other things that were not popular. It also greatly endangered things because the open gaming license that they brought back kind of protected people from this, and Wizards was essentially saying, we're not doing that anymore. We're just going to step all that back, and if you would like to continue to work in this space, you have to play by our new rules, which were just not sustainable for some people who'd made like lifestyles, jobs, etc. out of doing this. Again, super abridged version. Anyway, internet was not happy. This took over the attention of a lot of people, both within the D&D community and in general. And a lot of negative press. They released a second version of it, which they, made open to community feedback. Eventually, after about a month of getting so much flack for this and so many people, specifically voting with their wallet, because in the previous year, Wizards of the Coast bought D&D Beyond, which is an online tool that was previously independent, and people used it to build their characters. It had integration with online platforms, a lot of stuff. People just started canceling their subscriptions to it and directly cutting Wizards out of recurring money.
Yep.
A lot. Significantly expensive for them. So Wizards finally gave up on this entire approach to it. And they went back to the original plan of like the previous open game license so that people could continue to
Well,
produce
first
their
they
own
lied
stuff.
about it.
Oh yeah. Like there was a lot going on there. But just to show like where we're at now, and then we'll go back to the mess.
Okay.
Yeah, they essentially rolled back and said, okay, we're not doing that. They actually took the SRD, which is like the rules, like the game mechanics, and they put it in Creative Commons. So that's like much more protected than it used to be per Creative Commons rules. In the process, they kind of accidentally, because they dumped the whole thing in there, they put a lot of their trademark terms into Creative Commons, which is funny, because they probably didn't mean to do that. Obviously, trademarks are separate, but they may have opened themselves up to some other messes down the road, depending on which lawyer who knows way more about this than I do, you ask. But they tried to sweep it all under the rug and move on. But this entire month process from when this thing originally came out and their various communication throughout was a total mess. Like they did everything from saying, oh, well, that was, a draft version that wasn't supposed to get out yet, when they very clearly it was leaked in the sense of it got out to people, but like this was something that was sent to people. This was something that they'd been collecting feedback on. This was not really a draft.
Yeah, and they had sent it to various like third parties to sign or something, right? To sign off on?
Yeah, they'd already sent it out to people expecting them to sign it. And they gave them a relatively small window to think about it. It was a lot. And so they acted like, no, you guys, you don't understand. That was just a draft. Well, I mean, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
People to sign. And they, throughout a lot of this process, said things like, oh, you're not actually giving up your rights to your thing, which is like, I mean, you're not giving up your rights to it, but you are giving them rights to do things with it. And by extension, you're effectively giving Wizards the ability to take the content that you've created and sell it with their much larger platform. There was a lot of fear at the time that Wizards putting these rules out were really also setting up for them to take the competition online platforms, because Wizards had recently acquired D&D Beyond, and they were going to release their own online Dungeons and Dragons platform
that you had to pay for.
That you pay for.
Yeah.
And like, meanwhile, especially during the pandemic, when people were locked in and wanted stuff to do, platforms like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or Foundry, online things that let you play D&D with your friends, which had, depending on the platform, a lot of them straight up licensed things from Wizards to release that content digitally. Well, this is kind of Wizards' opportunity to start cutting those off and forcing you to play in the system that they bought. So that scared a bunch of people because this was where their livelihood was. It was a really messy thing, and every time they communicated on it, you'd get some answers, but then when legal people would look over them, they'd be like, that's not what that means. It was very misleading. A lot of very bad faith conversation came of this. Also, because their communication on this was so bad, this went into the YouTube machine where everyone who had any kind of channel about D&D released their own, here's our understanding of it, and a lot of misinformation started circulating too. So things got even worse. Like, not only were they making a mess, but their mistakes in trying to address these problems created much worse versions of the story that also got out and circulated. And so there was a lot of confusion about what was real, what is someone's interpretation of it. People who worked at Wizards were also like leaking information, which did not make things better for them, because it became very clear that a lot of the people who worked there, per these leaks, there was not a very fond view of the audience, of the people who buy D&D, of the people who buy any of their products. Like it was just a very negative experience start to finish. Like, again, I'm not going to go into the list. There's no shortage of things out there for it. But suffice it to say, it was bad. It was bad PR. It was a lot of a mess. And this all happened in January, February. And then here we are just a few months later with this also. Things are not looking good at Hasbro right now.
Yeah. And like the thing that bothered people about it was that it was all about, much like my complaints about Wizards of the Coast from the Magic side, it was all about making as much money as possible from the audience, ignoring goodwill, ignoring the relationship between company and consumers that had been there for years. It was like, how do we suck as much money out of these suckers as we can right now? And clearly that hits people wrong.
Surprisingly enough, yeah.
Yeah. So then
When a year ago or so, there was a news article said that Wizard of the Coast was overproducing Magic cards.
that was, I don't remember when that was, but yeah, that was sometime in like the second half of last year, I want to say.
That they were flooding the market and devaluing their product.
Yeah, like the independent source did an analysis.
I want to say it was like Forbes or someone carried it.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember the details, and we talked about it on the show at the time.
Yeah, I think that, like, even back when we were regularly doing M&M, like, I would read the reports from their earning calls and their projections for the next quarters and all of that stuff, because it was a good way to get an idea of what they were doing and why. And they've been in this, like, endless acquisition and build-up process for so long that my personal theory on it, as someone looking at this from, an armchair distant position without all the information, is that they have reached the point where they're not just looking to acquire more, but they're trying to get into defensive positions so that they fight off attrition. And the way that they seem to be doing that is to both flood the market with even more things for you to buy, but also force out perceived competition. And forcing out perceived competition in D&D meant essentially seeing other people making money and being like, no, we need a piece of that or you can't do it, which is very against the system that kind of saved them from the mess of 4th edition with the rollout of 5th edition. Like, they made a lot of money on people playing D&D for the first time because they've watched people online play it. They've been caught up in the subculture that's sprung up around it. They've played it online through other platforms when they couldn't go out in person. And
Critical Role now has an animated series, 2 seasons of an animated series on Amazon Prime. And now you're going to be like, another company would be like, wow, we've got all this exposure. But Hasbro is like, and I say Hasbro in particular because of the whole Magic 30 debacle and all that, is like, money that should be ours. Gotta get that money. And I don't think it's wrong for a company to want to make money, especially off of its own product, but you are going to cost yourselves the things that people enjoy the most.
Yeah, you're trading goodwill and positive association for cash right now.
Bottom line, yeah. Long term, you're trading long-term benefit for a very short-term gain. It's going to cost you your business.
But it also
See Magic 30.
But the thing is, the question is their goal long-term sustainability, or is their goal getting through the next quarterly earnings report?
Bill, you haven't followed what's going on with Magic in a little bit. Did you hear about the... So...
I think Bill knows about Magic 30.
Okay.
Oh, I definitely know about Magic 30.
That one was so bad that I'm pretty sure that Bill was aware of it.
I
Okay,
thought it was very funny. Like
that's a
not good, but funny.
that is a very generous way of putting
It
it.
it really felt when I heard about it like someone's fake April Fool's Day post making fun of the direction of the company in light of Secret Layers.
You would think so,
And then I found
right?
out it was real. And then I was like, oh wow.
It has that feeling, doesn't it? Of
It felt so over
haha,
the top.
haha. Yeah, like this isn't funny, guys. This is just dumb. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that I definitely heard about. But like I really get the impression that they have been trying to pick up the slack for the many branches of Hasbro that are not making the money they used to.
Which is damn
And
near all of them.
yeah, because even when I was paying attention to these things, most of the earnings reports boiled down to we're seeing diminishing returns in Play-Doh or whatever, and we're largely making success off of most recent Magic the Gathering set or version 57 of Monopoly that my family members keep buying me. And like I'm personally keeping this company going peripherally. But like they have been trying to shift into like they tried to do esports for a while. They tried to they've obviously been doing more with licensing. Like Stranger Things has helped them a bit. Obviously they just did a movie. I think they're trying to do more and more on that end of things. But they can't sustain like perpetual growth like no company can. And I think they've been trying to keep it going through mass production of limited time FOMO items to get as much money as they can out of their audience, but like that's only going to work for so long too. People only have so much money to give them. And so I think they're finally hitting the point of okay, well, if we can't get yet more money out of people, we need to get people who aren't giving us money to run out of alternatives or to get a piece of other pies. And that's not going well because that's never going to be popular. And similar to when they tried to do fourth edition, there's a good chance they're just running people to other stuff. Like I believe when they started doing the OGL problem back in January, their main competitor for Dungeons and Dragons is probably Paizo with Pathfinder 2.0. And the people from Paizo said that they sold like more of their core book in January than they normally sell in a year
Yeah.
or 8 months or some ridiculous amount of time. Like people jumped ship. People who were like pretty entrenched in playing D&D found other systems out there. And also when this started out, the Paizo company and several other game developers put together a new license of their own, which is essentially like super extreme. Like whatever we do will not be owned by, like in terms of like their systems and things like that. Like they made their own license that was even more generous than the OGL, and they called it the Orc because they're nerds. Of course they did. But that was the thing that suddenly pulled everyone over. Like, oh well, these are companies that actually aren't here to essentially screw us over, and we can safely develop for these things without fear that someday a company is going to decide, hey, stop everything you're doing or give us a lot of money. And that's rough. Like when you're a community driven company like that, like they're burning one of the resources they still have to get a little bit more money to get through, I guess, one more quarter. Um, it's rough.
Yeah, looking up the movie actually, because from everyone I've talked to, the movie was really good. But if you're a fan of D&D especially, but if you're not, it still worked. But it looks like
Yeah.
that wasn't a widely held belief because it had a budget of $150 million, and it looks like, according to Box Office Mojo, it's only made 180, just under
Yeah.
180 million,
Yeah.
which
Here's the
is a flop. It only
here's the
made back its budget plus some. That is not good.
here's the problem that I saw with the D&D movie. And I said this after watching it. I was sitting with Sam and Carrie, and I'm like, we were talking about it. Sam and I saw it. Carrie did not. I said, that was really good. Here's the only problem. There's a movie coming out in 4 days called the Mario movie. And I'm not saying like a lot of times I'm not always correct with my predictions. See idyllic tutor, etc. But I was like, I feel like this is gonna be big because it appeals to everybody. And even still, it did way better than I thought. Dungeons and Dragons came out 4 days before Mario. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, a lot of other good movies could have come out in that time period and just not been able to do anything, you know? So,
Yeah, it had a budget of 100 million, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and according to Box Office Mojo as of right now, has made 895 million and is still going strong. Mom
That
and
is
I
a
just
bigger
went to
number.
see it yesterday, and you know what? It was awesome.
yeah, it's a great movie. So,
Yeah, like
yeah.
it's pretty rough. Like I feel like the bar was also incredibly low. Like I candidly I have not seen the new Dungeons and Dragons movie. I'm still twitching from the one they released 25 years ago or whenever that was.
It was 2000, and you can get
2000.
over it. Yeah.
I mean, I'll try. I'll try one day at a time. But like I also have to get over the sequel. But regardless, I didn't see it, and part of it was like, yeah, there's a bunch of other movies coming out. Like, I wanted to see Mario, and I did. I wanted to see Ant-Man, and I did. Like, coming up, I'm gonna see Guardians. I'm gonna see Spider-Verse. I'm gonna see a bunch of movies. When I'm going down the list of them, like, am I gonna go see a D&D movie when I'm still mad at Wizards of the Coast from 3 months ago? I'll wait.
Yeah,
I'm
Mom was like, "Hey, you want to go see Dungeons and Dragons?" And I went, and I thought about Wizards of the Coast, and I went, "Not really." Like,
like I might see it eventually. Like I've been told it was fun. I believe people who said it was fun, but like I can wait. I'm not looking to pump opening weekend number. This isn't even a judgment on the people who make the movie or anything about it. By all accounts, it's a good and fun movie by people that really love D&D.
yeah,
But if I'm already going to see like 5 other movies in the next 2 months, that one I can wait on. They kind of took themselves out of tiebreaker on that.
yeah, that is about where I stand on it as well. That's why I didn't see it, despite everyone telling me it was good. Because,
And like there are other things that I'll go and I'll try to watch, like, as soon as possible, because either I really want to see them or because I want to support them on some small level. Like I saw the first Spider-Verse movie on opening night when no one was talking about it. And I went to see that cuz like I'm a fan of Spider-Man and I want to see Spider-Man stuff, but also I wanted, you know, a potentially really good Spider-Man movie that wasn't made by Marvel to do as well as I could hope for. And it was kind of a sleeper until a few weeks later when suddenly everyone decided they were in on it. But like, that's how it works. Some things I want to go see immediately. Some things I'm not in a hurry, and if I don't really care for the company, I'm not going to see it right now.
yeah.
So
For instance, I have no interest in going to see Flashpoint when it comes out.
yeah, that's rough. Like I'm not going to watch it either. I would have loved to have seen that movie if you'd pitched it to me like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Like
when they started making it.
Flashpoint, like the Flash movie, or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
okay.
the idea of it's fun. Like that would have been the kind of DC movie that I would have wanted to go watch. But I'm not now.
Yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery has eroded any sort of interest I had in supporting them directly ever at this point. So, like, I saw the trailer for Blue Beetle and I was like, holy crap, that looks good. And then my brain said, oh, wait, it's DC. Never mind. Because I don't want to give them money.
Yeah.
And like, if you go see Blue Beetle, let me know how it is. By all means, everybody. Because it looks like a lot of fun, but
It does look fun, doesn't it? I don't know the first thing about the character.
I
I'm
think that'll
sure.
make it better.
That would probably make it more fun,
Yeah.
honestly. But
Yeah.
like that's the thing. I like watching comic book movies when I don't already know the characters and the story. That's kind of fun. Um, I appreciate the fact that Marvel has run out of their A and B listers, and now I can just enjoy it because I don't know all of these things. But in general, like I just whether or not I want to, like I'm not going to go see that because everything involving Ezra Miller is a mess, and all of the decisions they made around that were bad. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess to wind it back to like the main topic that we're talking about, like, what do we do with Wizards? Because they've been pretty bad this year.
Yeah. After this story dropped, at least one person in the Discord was like, I don't even know if I could ever give them money again. And I understand
Yeah.
because this is really bad.
Like, I have had, I've got like a Magic playing careers of Magic cards sitting in my closet. Like, I remember when I first started playing, so many people who'd been playing longer than me were like, yeah, I used to have all these cards, but then I sold them all when I got out, and now I got back in, and I wish I hadn't. And I'm like, well, when I stop playing for a while, I'm just going to put them in the closet, and then I'll, if I ever get back into the game, I'll be glad I have essentially all of Modern up to a certain point, and that'll be nice. And now I'm like, I don't want to get back into the game. I don't want that to be a thing I do later on. And so for the first time, even after not playing for several years, I'm like, I kind of want to just go sell my collection and just be clearing out. And that's the feeling that they've given me after their behavior this year. Like, I don't want it taking up space in my home anymore. And that's rough because, like, this is like 15 years of collection that I just want to liquefy at a loss just to not have it anymore. And like I'm glad that I have like I'm still running a D&D game, but like I'm not buying any more books they put out. I I'm going to use the stuff that I have now, but I'm not going to give them any more money. And maybe my opinion on this will change in time, but like I didn't want to dislike them. I obviously spent what, Chewy, like a decade talking about them. Like it's really
Yeah.
rough that they've gone so bad so hard when I wanted to go to bat for them for so long.
And we did for so long. Like that's one of the things that I was most proud about for Monday Night Magic is we were trying to be the voice of reason in the screaming cacophony of idiot Magic players out there. Like we were trying to be like, everybody calm down. And whether it was pro Watsy or not, like or whatever, we tried to be reasonable about all the everything that they did or was done or whatever. And these days, I don't even care to give them the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Like I feel like for me a big part of it was for the longest time like, oh man, it really sucks that Hasbro makes Wizard do things, but like I don't see the difference anymore. I know there are certainly people in Wizards who are just there because they want to make a card game that they love, or they want to make D&D, or they want to, do this thing that they've dreamed about doing for so long.
Oh
and
yeah. Like there's still I'm
now,
fairly certain there's still a very distinct line between like the designers and all of that. The people that we know from
yeah,
that writing articles on the website and that sort of thing,
like the people that we actually talk to when I use Twitter, and the people that we
Exactly.
would talk to on the show. Like I don't think any of them are like secretly evil or anything. Just to be
Yeah,
clear,
there's
but
there's a
like,
very distinct line between them and corporate.
but it's
And
becoming very clear that they don't have the influence to right a ship, and it's not their job to do that. To
right.
be clear, but like I see the boat at this point. I know these people are on it. I know not a lot of them are on the happy part of the boat, but like I can't really give Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro the benefit of the doubt just because they have a lot of good people working there. Like as a whole, these are the decisions that are being made regardless of how nice a lot of the people who are just trying to make a good game are in on it. Like that's just rough.
Yeah. The problem is that WotC corporate back in the day, I don't think exists anymore. I think like we've had multiple new CEOs since then, and I think all of the corporate structure has been turned into a smaller Hasbro. So I don't
Yeah,
think people could say, "Oh, it's Hasbro forcing it." I don't know anymore. I think that Wizards of the Coast has warped to turn into Hasbro.
I think that Hasbro realized where the money was coming from and did not want to leave it a loose leash anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Like, I don't imagine the people that used to update daily MTG would ever be like, oh man, this guy got some cards early. Let's send the mob or
yeah.
the intimidation squad or whatever. Like, I don't think that would have been the case. I think they would have been like, hey, if you could, return those to us so that we can still have a proper, preview season or whatever, then we'll hook you up with an uncut sheet and we'll thank you profusely and, like a positive, not we're going to intimidate you and then play good cop later kind of approach. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's what would have happened before. But
Yeah,
that's
I don't
clearly
I
what
don't
happens
see
now.
like Blake Rasmussen being like, "Oh, it's a nice life you got there. Shame if something were to happen to it." Like,
Seems unlikely.
yeah, no.
I mean, I do kind of miss when the biggest things that we were complaining about with these things were like, oh no, regional pre-releases are gone. Now it's not going to feel the same. Like, there were obviously always problems, but like, I never would have believed you if you said some of this stuff was going to happen.
Yeah, right? Like if you had told us back during like Monday Night Magic episode 600 100% accurate what was coming, we would have been like, "Nuh-uh."
It would have felt like doomsayers that we usually told to calm down.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh god, what if some of them were time travelers?
the John Titors of us.
Yeah. I understood that reference.
Yeah. Gotta watch out for those. Ask your children. Uh, but yeah, like in general, I don't know. Like a lot of it feels bad, and it feels bad that they've gotten to this point. But also, I feel like you don't do things like this if your priority is acknowledging that people have alternatives or would react to this. If you don't think your audience will care, you pull things like this,
Right.
and that's a very bold place for them to be.
Yeah. And it's not like it's just Wizards of the Coast. Like Nintendo recently threw a giant book at the guy whose last name is Bowser but not the one who's the president. I can't remember his first name. What's his name?
I only know the President Bowser.
Bowser hacker. Gary Bowser. Like,
Oh, I think I read about this in the news. Like, didn't he hack into something proprietary for Disney? Not Disney, sorry. Too many of these companies. Nintendo.
right.
Don't worry, there'll be less companies soon.
Yeah,
buying each
he
other.
was a hacker that was selling console mods, essentially Switch mods, and they have gone just unreasonably hard on him to set an example. Yeah, chat said he's freed from prison, but he still has to pay a third of all his income to Nintendo for the rest of his life. Yeah, like it's a $10 million lawsuit against him. He's never gonna make $10 million ever. So they're just using him as an example. They're like, yeah, you mess with us and look what happens. And this is another one of those things where, oh, this beloved company, people did the thing and look at this. But a lot of people know about it. Like Brian said, he heard about it on the news. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Brian doesn't read like specifically gaming news all that often, I don't think.
Not that often, no. More actual like, well, not actual news. Like gaming news is news, but more politics and that sort of stuff. I don't know how else to describe. Not exclusively gaming news.
I mean, gaming news by and large isn't real news. It's fine.
Gaming news is generally a subset of entertainment news that occasionally pokes into other areas.
Yeah. But yeah. Even Penny Arcade made a comic about it, for God's sake. Like, how messed up does it have to be for Penny Arcade to jump in on it?
Considering Penny Arcade directly does work with Wizards of the Coast.
Exactly.
Like, really? They've been working with Wizards of the Coast for more than a decade, and even they're like, no. Oddly enough, they release D&D books. So, that's where we're at now.
Yeah. Oh well. Dirk, you still awake?
I am.
Okay, just checking. Just making sure you hadn't wandered off, because we hadn't heard from you in a while.
No, just enjoying all the discussion.
Yeah, this has been good. But I think in an effort to keep Dirk from turning into a pumpkin, we should probably wrap things up. I think we've said everything that we were going to say. It's
I think so, yeah.
It's just a sorry state of affairs.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we as people, like customers, can do about it is just to not give them money. But Magic players have a problem, and by and large, I don't even think this is gonna make a dent. Like, I don't think Wizards will notice, which is the bad part. Like, they'll get a whole bunch of bad PR about it, and then it'll go away, and their bottom line won't be touched.
So, I will say that, like I said, back in January, they caved when people started cutting their D&D Beyond subscriptions, and they very directly saw the loss of money on a very specific product.
Vote with your wallet.
Yeah,
Like-
but that's why I say Magic players have a problem, and
They do. They
and
absolutely
can't
do.
not buy Magic.
Right. I think this is one of those things where if Magic players are in that middle spot where it's like they don't want to just stop, but they also want to show that they're unhappy. I mean, we know what set this is associated with. We know it's coming out in a month. Don't buy that.
We know that it's a weird experimental thing that if it is successful, they'll just add this to their list of crap that they release every single set. Probably. So yeah, maybe skip this one.
I mean, they'll probably say, well, of course it did badly because all the cards got released early. But you know what? If that's the approach they take on it, pick another one and don't buy it. Like, you can't afford all of them anyway. Just choose where you're spending your money, tank some things so that someone has to explain on their earnings call why something went wrong. Like, inevitably, they're going to come up with an excuse for everything. But the thing is, they're doing all this stuff because they feel like they can. And once it becomes clear that it matters, they'll probably change their tune on it. And if they're right and it doesn't matter, then that says a whole lot more about the community and the people keeping them going than anything else.
Yeah, chat says Wizards is gonna blame the set being spoiled for poor sales. The price for pre-orders has already dropped a lot since the set was I'm pretty sure he, over the course of 3 videos, showed all 50 cards.
Okay.
I think the full set has been revealed.
If you want to get around that, pick another set that hasn't been revealed yet. Like, again, can't afford them all anyway.
It's true. Donovan Bates said, let's turn Aftermath into Morbius. Make them release it again, and then not buy it again. Oh, God, that was so funny. The
That
internet
was
memed on Morbius so hard that they released it again, and it still didn't make any money.
yeah.
Sony
I
executives
don't
aren't real bright, are they?
I don't understand half the memes associated with that movie. Something about Morbin time or whatever.
It boiled down to essentially no one went and saw the movie, so people could post fake things happening in the movie, and everyone else said, "Yeah, sure, we'll pretend that's what happened."
And it became like it was trending for a long time because it was such a bad joke of an event that the Sony executives were like, "Man, people really love this. We should re-release it." And they'll go see it this time, and then they re-released it and nobody went to see it again.
Turns
But then
out
they
people
said they
just
promised they would if they just do it one more time.
Just
turns
trust me,
out
bro.
people
Just
just
release
like
it one
making
more time. I
fun.
promise. Come on, trust me, bro. Oh Lord. So I guess that's that. This ended up turning into another Wizards is an Evil Company episode, but you know that's what happens when you turn into an evil company. Uh,
Yeah.
so how about some? I don't believe that the final thoughts was a Jerry Springer thing. That bothers me because I've been saying that the entire length of this show, and I never once watched Jerry Springer. That
I
bothers
never,
me.
I never really watched him. There were occasions where someone would have it on, and I would catch little snippets. And my thought was just, what in the world is this? It was just like mayhem with no sort of endpoint. It was just, yeah, we're just gonna put this out there, and you suckers are gonna watch it anyway. So
Exactly. But apparently, that bit at the end of each episode where he would sit down and talk to the camera, he called his final thoughts, and that bothers me because I didn't know that. So anyone who all this time has been like, "Oh, they end the episode on final thoughts like Jerry Springer," no, it's because it's our thoughts that are final for the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, 60 Minutes. That old guy on 60 Minutes,
You want to
who I think
narrow that
passed away
down?
a while ago. The old guy on 60 Minutes who passed away a while ago, like super old, would always get like the last say, and Carrie and I would be like, "What on earth?" And it would be hilarious to us because we didn't watch a whole lot of 60 Minutes except that it was always on right before The Amazing Race on Sundays, and so we would watch some of 60 Minutes and usually catch this guy's final thoughts or whatever. It could be on anything. I swear, it could be on like, my dog peed on the rug today. Here's my thoughts on dogs peeing on rugs. To like more serious stuff like Syria or whatever.
That's
But
such a range.
right? So maybe there's dogs peeing on rugs in Syria. I bet there are. I bet there are. But uh, I think the concept of a final little, send off is pretty universal. So
Yeah.
for my final send off today,
This is
I'm
this is a shout out to all the dogs peeing on rugs in Syria.
if you're listening to us, send us an email somehow.
Lift one
Uh,
leg for your homies.
Pour one out. Oh man.
Oh,
Wow. I got nothing better than that. That's for sure. I wasn't here last week. We didn't do a show. I had a relative pass away from brain cancer. Cancer sucks.
Mm.
So make sure you spend the time you have with your loved ones. And I know that sounds super cheesy, but it's also completely true because uh, in January she was fine, and then went to the hospital toward the end of January because she couldn't feel her left side, and they're like, "Yeah, we have bad news," and it was inoperable. So just and the week prior she was completely herself as she had been for 75 years. So just thinking of everybody out there, regardless of what you're going through. hopefully you're healthy and you're spending time with the people that you care about and not obsessing over things that will just make you mad. Not that those things like Pinkertons shouldn't make you mad and we shouldn't ignore them, but don't let it dominate your life. Be like Squee, grab a squeeze toy. Just let it all out.
Don't grab Squeeze toy though. That's Squeeze.
Something like squeeze toy. I'm looking at the art for it, and that looks uncomfortably like a brain.
I mean, it's part of the legacy weapon.
Yeah, but
Brains.
right. So that's my final thought. I'm gonna head on out. Bill, it's been great to talk to you, but I have to review some stuff and emotion get in for tomorrow. So
That's fair.
good night, good night, everybody.
Night, B.
Good night.
All right, Brian.
How about you there, Zerkovsky?
My final thought is I'm got a test that's coming up on Saturday. It's the social studies praxis, so it's to decide whether or not I potentially could add social studies to my license, my teaching license. So I've been doing practice tests this week, refreshing, going over some areas that I'm not totally informed on, like economic stuff. I took macroeconomics in college, but it's been a very long time since I did that, and so just trying to remember what all the stuff is, and so I've been reviewing all that good stuff. So yeah, my final thought is going and studying for stuff for a test is hard.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
That sounds right.
So yeah, that's my final thought. And with that, I am off to bed. So you guys
Well,
have a wonderful night.
good luck, Zerk.
Righty. Thank you.
Night, Dirt.
I meant good luck on his test, not good luck on going to sleep. But
Whichever. As long as he's happy.
yeah, we'll go with that. Well, how about you then, Mr. Sir?
I will wrap this up with a fact because facts are fun. So per our discussion earlier and going entirely on the bastion of knowledge that is Wikipedia, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves made $29.6 million over its budget. Cocaine Bear made between 58 and I guess $53 million over its budget, depending on which end of the budget range we take as real. Meaning, for all that we're like, oh wow, the D&D movie, did okay. It did not do as successful as a Coked Up Bear.
Cocaine Bear was another one that I heard from everybody that saw it that it was absolutely amazing. Like unironically, people were like, "This is great."
Wonderful.
Because it's a big stupid monster movie.
Yeah.
And that's what it set out to be. So awesome.
Right. So just I know that when we were talking earlier this week, I said the only really good thing that Wizards had this year was a successful movie, and you're like, I don't know. And then I said, well, I mean, everyone's going to act like their movie's successful based on whatever metrics they're pulling, but upon digging more numbers into it, you're absolutely right. It really wasn't that successful. It just nerds didn't hate it.
Yeah.
And when it came to money, it could not keep up with the Coked Up Bear, and that's really funny.
Yeah. Yeah. That is pretty good.
So that's another thing that they get to, I guess, bring into their next earnings call.
Chat says, to be fair, most things can't keep up with a coked up bear.
I know, I couldn't.
Yeah, I didn't even try.
No, I mean, if a Coked Up Bear comes after me, I'm going to hope that, I'm not the slowest one.
So, for me, I assume that's it for you then.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've been playing the Resident Evil 4 remake, you know? And okay, you know what? I'm just going to go through this real quick. There's a challenge. There are also achievements, I found out. For the 3 sections of the game that are get all the treasures on the treasure map in each of the 3 sections of the game, right? The village, the castle, the island. And on my first playthrough on normal difficulty, I missed 1 treasure in the village and 1 treasure in the castle. And I knew where both of them were. I just never went back to get them before it was too late. Whoops. And I got all of them on the island, luckily. So on my second playthrough, I was determined I'm going to get all of the treasures on the island and the castle. So on subsequent playthroughs, I don't have to worry about it anymore. If I get treasures, fine. If I don't get treasures, fine. You know? I can focus on, going fast. Or doing some of the other challenge runs like don't talk to the merchant or do it all with handguns. Whatever. And, so I was doing the playthrough. I started the second stream on the New Game Plus playthrough on hardcore difficulty right before the fight with Del Lago. So at the very end of chapter 3. So I fight Del Lago. I win eventually. Del Lago's hard on any difficulty higher than standard. And I get chapter 4 starts. I get the boat. I do all the lake stuff. There's a whole lot of different places to go, a lot of different treasures and things to collect. I did all of that. I got the keys to the church. I fought the El Gigante, which is a cave troll, essentially. I got back to the church. I got Ashley. And started clearing out the map. I'm like, okay, now that I've got Ashley, there's a bunch of stuff I can go get. And a side quest I can do that wasn't available before. All right. And I saw on the map way down here at the abandoned factory, there was an icon for a treasure. There's a locked drawer. The locked drawers, you can find small keys. There are 5 small keys. There are 5 locked drawers in the village. And I was like, oh, I should go down there and get that. And I looked in my inventory, and I didn't have a small key. I was like, oh, I used my last small key. Where the hell's... I must have missed one somewhere. So after thinking about it for a while, I got nothing. So I looked it up. The locations of small keys. I was like, oh, I must have missed this one. So I went to go there and get it so I could go down and unlock the drawer. And the way was blocked. You can't get down there anymore. This is like 3.5 hours into a stream, mind you. So I went, oh. Damn. So, and it really bothered me because the one thing I wanted to accomplish on this playthrough was to get all of the treasures. So I didn't have to stress about it anymore, as I said. So I said, oh, and it was really gnawing at me. And when I ended the stream, I was like, what I'm going to end up doing is off stream, I'm going to end up doing this entire stream again and going to get the stupid final treasure down there. And
Quest
so
for the final key.
Yeah. And so later that night, even after I killed the stream, I started it up again. I fought the lake monster. I did all the lake stuff. I got the keys to the church. I went and fought the El Gigante. But before I went to the church to get Ashley, I was going to go get this last thing. And the way was blocked. And I went, So this is now like, I'm going to say probably that was 3.5. So probably 5.5 hours I've spent on this now. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I Googled. Because this is the treasure. This is not the treasure I missed last time. This is one I got last time. I already got the one that I missed. So I Googled it. Last chance to get to the abandoned factory Resident Evil 4 remake. And it was like, oh, the last chance you have to get down there is before you start chapter 4. I was like, are you kidding me? So I reloaded that save again. And this time, instead of fighting the lake monster, I booked my ass all the way across the map. Found the key I missed. Haha. Opened the lock drawer, got the treasure, said aha, went all the way back, fought the lake monster again, did about half of the lake stuff again, and then it was like 2 in the morning. So I was like, I'll screw around in the shooting gallery for a bit and then go to bed. I got an S rank in all but 3 of the games in the shooting gallery. So 9, because they're 12 games. And I went to bed at like 2:30. Woke up the next day, Mom and I went to see Mario, came back, loaded that save up again. That's a lie, actually. I did the lake stuff and saved it before I fought the El Gigante. Then all of this happened with the movie and coming back. And then I beat El Gigante and went to get the key and it wasn't there. So I reloaded the save again yesterday. Sorry, didn't mean to lie to you. And I went through the whole thing again. Went to get the key and the treasure. Fought the lake monster again. Did half of the lake stuff. And then I had to go DoorDash because, it was 5 o'clock. I said, whoops. So when I got back last night from dashing, that's the stream I did, was doing all that stuff again. So I had redone the shooting gallery again too. I got all but 2 of them this time. So I did that on the beginning of the stream. And then finished the lake stuff, got the keys, fought El Gigante, got Ashley, went all the way back to the cabin defense section with Luis. Got that on my second try somehow. And then I was able to proceed and play like the next hour or so that was new for this playthrough. So in like a 3-hour stream, I made about an hour of progress. All so that in future runs, I don't have to worry about getting the stupid treasures again. So it cost me like 10 hours.
Yeah.
But it'll make future Chewie happy. He better appreciate it, the jerk. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Is I missed a thing and then spent 10 hours either not realizing I missed a thing and then trying to fix the thing and then realizing I missed it again and trying it again, and it was very frustrating.
That sounds like it.
Yeah. I know where the treasure is that I missed in the castle too. I just never went back to get it while I had Ashley because it's a 2-person job. So I got to remember to do that this time. So yay, we're all fine here. How are you? That said, Resident Evil 4 is so much fun. I didn't actually mind so much. Weirdly enough, it's been pretty great. Very happy to be playing through it again on a harder difficulty and only sort of noticing the harder difficulty. Just like, do what?
Like Spider-Man or like Final Fantasy? Like, I mean, is it like enemies just have more health and you have less resources, or are enemies smarter? Like, what's the main difference?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not really sure because it's a new game plus, so I've got all my weapons.
Yeah.
So
like when
I did notice bosses are harder.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure enemies deal more damage than they did on standard difficulty.
Yeah.
But I haven't been short any like healing items or anything. But also, I've gotten a lot better at the game, so I'm not taking as much damage. So I'm not entirely sure. I know that professional difficulty, I read the description of it and I was like, like that sounds awful. So I didn't decide to jump straight into professional.
That's fair. Yeah, I just remember when I did Spider-Man on hard, it was easier than the first playthrough because 1, I knew where everything was. 2, I'd built up muscle memory for the entire game, and 3, like, I'm fully maxed out with all my stuff, so even if enemies were more durable, it didn't matter because I was maxed out. But like when you're playing FF7 Remake on hard, they change all the rules. Like your
Yeah.
resources are different, your abilities and the way you play the game is different. Obviously, some of the boss fights go differently because different stuff happens. Like, I'm always curious to see how games interpret harder.
Yeah, I think it's basically enemies are more aggressive and they do more damage, and I think there's less resources or less healing items at least. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
I also, like, knowing what was coming, I was like shooting fish and picking them up and shoving them in my briefcase because I've got a charm that says double healing from fish. So since I had like 6 fish in my briefcase, I put that charm on and used it instead of healing herbs, and I'm out of fish now. So
Back to the fish mines.
yeah. So like I used all of those, like, instead of selling them to the merchant like I did in the first playthrough. I sold, I think, 3 of them. I think I had 9 in my briefcase at one point, and I sold 3 of them. I was like, that's enough, and I used all of them over the course of the next couple hours. So, yeah, and like I said, the bosses seem to take more damage and do more damage, but professional difficulty had things that just sounded worse. But I don't remember what they were. Let me look it up. Oh, professional has no autosaves. You can only perfect parry. So if someone's coming at you with a weapon, you can hold out your knife. And if they hit the knife, they'll bounce off, right? Or you can time it, like in a Dark Souls game, you can time it and do a perfect parry, and you'll actually stagger them.
Yeah.
And in professional, you don't get normal parries. You only have perfect parries. So you're either do it right or take damage. There's no in between.
Right.
It sort of upgrade. It sort of gives an offset of that. It says all weapon modifications are available from the start. So when you first start Resident Evil 4, you can only purchase upgrade, like the first, it was either 3 or 4 levels of upgrade for your weapons, and then later in the game the merchant's like, oh, here's the rest of the upgrade path for each weapon, or upgrade slots rather. So yeah, professional gives you all of them available, so you can like pump money into upgrading the power on your pistols all the way as soon as you like, I guess. Lack of autosaves is brutal. And if you're trying to get the highest rank, which is S+, you only can save 15 times total.
That feels like a throwback to older Resident Evil, but much more aggressive.
Yeah, and again, that's only if you're trying to get S+ on the highest difficulty, which if you're trying to get S+ on the highest difficulty, you're up for it.
Right.
But I am not up for it, so I did not pick professional mode. So yeah, it looks like hardcore is like your standard, okay, take more damage, do less damage, fewer resources type of thing, but then professional mode actually changes the rules. So that's neat. And Bill brings up Spider-Man, and probably starting very soon, possibly by the time you're hearing this, I might be doing it, starting it tomorrow. I'm going to be playing through New Game Plus on Ultimate Difficulty to get the last 2 achievements, which I'm very excited about. Because I'll have 100% of the achievements on Spider-Man.
Nice.
Which is pretty baller, if I do say so myself. And I do.
You're going to play Miles next?
Not next. No, I'm going to finally start Doom 2016 once I get done with one of these games.
I feel like I lived through 2016 Doom, so I assume they're similar.
Could be. Did you shotgun demons in the face?
I wish. I feel like it would have ended better.
I mean, you're not wrong. But yeah, because I think a couple of years ago now I started playing through all the Doom games. Like I played Doom, and I played Doom 2, which I'd never played all the way through. Like I had Doom 2 on the PC back 1,000 years ago, but I would just IDDQD and ID KFA and just walk around and kill things until I got bored. I'd never actually played Doom proper. So I beat both of those. I played Doom 64. I stalled for a while because I didn't really want to play Doom 3. I finally played Doom 3. It was fine. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. You know, it was fine. And then I was going to jump into Doom 2016, and I got gifted Spider-Man, and the Resident Evil 4 remake was coming soon. So I was like, crap, if I don't play the original now, I probably never will on stream. So I played the original, and then people chipped in to buy me the new one, so I'd play it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll play it. So I haven't actually started Doom 2016 yet.
Gotcha.
But
are you gonna reach the dangerous point where you do a watch party of the movie?
No.
For the best.
Yeah, no, because I don't have Amazon Prime anymore to do watch parties, and I wouldn't. I tried to only watch good movies on the watch party, or movies that were like laughably bad, not just bad movies. So
that's totally fair.
So yeah, and so Spider-Man Remastered and Resident Evil 4 are the main two games I'm playing right now. When I finish, whichever one I finish first, I'll cycle in Doom. And then when I finish the other, I'll probably start Miles Morales after that, honestly. Because
it's fun.
Not long after it came out on PC, it was on, I found it for a ridiculous, like 65, I think, % off. I was like, what? So I bought it. Because I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever see it that low again. And I haven't since, so, So I'll probably do it soonish afterwards, just before my brain forgets how to play Spider-Man. Dude, jumping back and forth between Resident Evil 4 and Spider-Man and Hitman and Resident Evil 4 Remake, none of the controls are even remotely similar on any of those games.
I believe it.
So there's always this period when I start a stream of, crap, what do buttons do?
I ran into some of that problem just whenever I go between the PlayStation and the Switch, since the accept and cancel buttons are in alternate places.
Oh, damn it, Nintendo. Why are you ass backwards on that?
Menus, where I'm fighting menus forever.
Nintendo drives me up the wall with that. Just shut up and get in line like everybody else, man.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, hey, before I forget, don't forget you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard. And yeah, you know the drill by now. Let me read you the list of our mythic lifeguards in, I don't know, that order. Sure. Timio Hellas Scuzzo, Pinball Witch, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Beardy Man, who sadly could not be here this week, Kim Ho, Casey, John Parker, Jason Kaus, Jason Doan, Jake Jansen's. They're the only two Jasons you're allowed to trust, by the way. Jake Jansen's, Connor Kennedy, Cody Buckowing, Andrew Odie, Andrew Hunt, ALK Alters, and Al. Mike did say when I sent them the link about the Pinkertons, Mike was like, WTAF, you might as well just send Blackwater out at this point.
It's not a big leap at all.
And that made me happy, and it made me very sad that he wasn't going to be here this week for that, because I would have loved to hear what Mike had to say out loud on this.
Yeah.
But oh well. But I think that's it from us. So don't forget, we stream the show on Thursdays on twitch.tv/themanapool. That's also where I do the live streaming, of course. And yeah, come join us sometime. But that'll be it for episode. Oh, and Bill, thank you so much for coming to hang out and talk about how WotC's awful.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yay. Down with capitalism. Yeah, hoorah. But with that, we will be done with episode 676. Thank you all so very much for listening, and don't hire the Pinkertons for anything.
Just don't.
Ever.